My mum has taught me so much about what it means to be a good man. And that's because my mum is a good human. And I always say, we tell young boys to be good men, to grow up to be good men, but we're humans. And being a good human is much more important than being a good man or a woman.
NRL player, reality TV star, BookTok phenomenon, went to rehab, author, described as the ultimate green flag by thousands of women, and somewhat of a farmer by all accounts, and the weirdest part of all, a devotee of fantasy smut. I have no idea what that is. Luke Bateman, welcome to Fascinated.
Thanks for having me, Jack. I really appreciate it.
So with that in mind, how would you describe yourself?
This is actually a great question to start on, because I'm someone who comes with a lot of labels, and people use those labels all the time. I really, really hate labels. I would describe myself as a human being, just trying to do my best. And there's a great saying, I love it. I do believe it's an old Japanese saying. It says, once you tell a child the name of a bird, they will stop seeing that bird. And I think that that's what we do with humans. When we put label on humans, we put people in boxes, and we stop seeing their humanity, and we start seeing the labels that we attach to them.
So what's the label that's upset you the most?
Oh, no label upsets me, I think. But, when people are like, footy player or reality TV person, and it's just like, no, like you're taking all of my humanity, all of my complexity, and now you're just putting it into this tiny box. So it's not that they upset me. It's more so I think that we as a society really like to debase humans down to jobs, titles, labels.
I think that's a really good answer. Well, let's start at the beginning then. Let's start with the footy and the NRL. And one of the things I found so interesting when I was learning more about you, you've spoken before. You said your sporting career comes with a lot of pain. So what did you mean by that? Because when we speak to ex-players of any sport or athletes, they put that up as often and mostly their defining achievement.
Yes. Well, my journey through elite sports and my professional sporting career was, for me, I think, externally, you would have looked at that and said, wow, what a successful person, living the dream. That's a position that many other people would have wanted to be in, and something that many other people want to do and never get to do. But for me, behind, internally and behind closed doors, that was the worst period of my life. I struggled with depression, addiction, suicide, and it was, I think, upon reflection, I grew up in Western Queensland. I grew up in a very football culture. Rugby league it's a religion out there. Said your granddad played, your dad played, your cousins played, your uncles played, your brothers played, your friends played, everybody. Rugby league was just what you did. And the only dream that I ever really saw possible as a child was rugby league. That was the dream that I was given. And so I made that my dream. And then I got there and I lived that dream, and it was really unfulfilling for me. It was really unfulfilling. I remember when I played my debut game, and I'd always thought, once I get to the NRL, once I have this, once I achieve that, then I'll feel good. That'll make me happy. And I remember my debut game, and I played, and afterwards I was like, nothing's changed. I'm not happy. Yeah. And that sort of, and then slowly that progressed into a lot of pain.
So was there a moment that you ever enjoyed playing at all, or was it always kind of this wrestle with yourself about what you had to do and maybe what you wanted to do?
Yeah. I loved the game. The 80 minutes of the game, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the physicality. I enjoyed the sport. It was, for me, the culture and everything else that came with it, I really hated. And it made me, I didn't enjoy what would I say? I didn't enjoy the business of rugby league.
Did you hate being famous?
I wouldn't have said that I was famous back then. I was very Z-list celebrity back then. I was. Yeah.
Because in Melbourne a lot, AFL players in particular. They can't walk down the street, whether you're the bottom of the list or the top of the list, without being recognised and put on a pedestal, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way?
Definitely not. No, definitely not. I mean, I was in Canberra, so and Canberra was always really quiet. You know, you could walk down the street.
Too many politicians in Canberra.
and you know, you'd walk down the street and no one would recognise you and things like that. But as I said, you know, I wouldn't class anything that I did as fame worthy.
So while you were playing, I read that you used to read books on the toilet.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Very true. Very, very
so why
true.
did you do that?
Oh, this starts, you know, I was always a lover of books.
Yeah.
Always lover of books. But in sort of the hyper-masculine culture that is rugby league, or is male sport probably in general across all codes, books, reading, fantasy, magic, that kind of stuff is really looked down upon and not welcomed. And I would, as a kid growing up, sort of through my teenage years, I became very secretive and very shameful around my book reading. Because it wasn't
it's so sad.
Oh, it is. It's an interesting thing. It's extremely weird concept, you know, that we view reading.
Because we encourage our children to read and love
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But amongst sort of like the boys and the culture and stuff, it was very much like, oh, nerd or other words which I won't say. And so I became very secretive and shameful around my reading and my love of fantasy. And as I grew up into an adult, I would take books. I would take books into my work and to footy and stuff, and I would sit in the toilet and read them on the toilet so that nobody knew that I was doing it.
When did you think you had to tell people that you used to go into the toilet? They must have been thinking, God, he spends a lot of time in there.
It's so funny because I always literally, like, everyone was like, geez, you spend a lot of time in the toilet. And I'm like, yeah. So weird. I don't know. Like, what are you doing there? I don't know. Just playing on my phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But what were you? All different books. What were you reading?
Yeah. All different books. Yeah. Fantasy books. Yeah. I mean, my love is fantasy books, epic fantasy. So it was mainly that, but other genres as well. I've really branched out recently.
So the pressure that we'll come back to the fantasy because this is totally new to me, but I want to go back to when you were playing and how you fell into gambling. And I guess, was there a pivotal moment for you where did it creep up slowly or did you go all in the beginning?
No, it definitely creeped up. So I would say, and once again, I think we live in such a gambling normalised society. Gambling is everywhere from the age. I even talk about, you know, when I was at school, our entire school would stop to watch the Melbourne Cup. You know, we live in such a the Australians are just so gambling prone and it's so normalised. But especially in I think elite sports, gambling cultures. And so when I turned 18 and I went into, you know, full-time sport or professional sport, it's a gambling culture. So what you did with your spare time and how you interacted with your teammates was always involved gambling in some way, shape or form. Like there was always gambling involved in or gambling attached to it. And
what were you betting on?
It's everything, whether it be pokies, like racing. Like my big one was racing, horses and dogs, etc. But you know, casino, pokies, racing, whatever. Like you obviously can't bet on rugby league. Yeah. And I'd never really bet on sport at all, but it was just, you're surrounded, you're inundated, you know,
so was it on your phone gambling. Or was it in person? Was it
on my
to
phone?
The pokies as well?
No, I was on my phone. So my gambling was my phone. And for me, I can track my gambling through the years, and it began at the age of 18. And then when my sort of depression and real internal pain became really overwhelming, that's when my gambling really deepened. So they were sort of, they coincided together.
What did it feel like to bet all the time? Were you doing it in the middle of the night?
Yeah. I would lay in bed at night time until 2-3 o'clock in the morning, gambling on my phone. And that was a regular occurrence. Like that was probably not daily, but weekly. But there would be, it would have been rare for me to go a day without gambling at my worst. And what did it feel like? It was all consuming. You know, I couldn't function. I couldn't function a normal life because every waking moment of my life was consumed by gambling.
It's so sad.
It's extremely sad. Yeah.
And so how many hours a day would you spend betting?
Hours.
Hours,
Yeah.
And how
absolutely.
much were you losing on a daily basis?
Oh, I varied, varied. Sometimes you'd have a win. But I think definitely over the space of about 3 years, I would have lost close to $1 million.
It's frightening. And I guess now that you've been through this, and we'll get into your journey into rehab and recovery, but, what's your advice to young men in particular when you say you would have been at the height of your sporting career, but you lost $1 million?
Yeah. And that's what I was saying to you earlier about, externally, like many people would have looked at my life from an external point of view and gone, wow, that's my dream. Like, I wish I could be him. I wish I could be in that position. Whereas internally and behind closed doors, my life was horrible. Like, I would not wish on my worst enemy. Instead, it was full, like, so much pain, really, really painful. And I forget your question, sorry, Jackie.
No, that's okay. Yeah. I was saying, for you.
Young men.
Yeah, like what would you tell them?
It's really difficult. And my journey through addiction and sobriety and recovery has been one of years. So it's really hard. I get asked this question often, and it's really hard for me to just give like, oh, this is the one sentence or two sentences that'll fix your life.
And everyone's journey is different.
But for me, my journey was really one through internal, reconnecting with myself, understanding myself, learning the language of my internal world, learning the language of my pain, learning why I needed to gamble to get away from my life, like learning.
But did it make you feel better when you were at the height of it?
It did. Yeah. It did, absolutely. It was the thing that I was attached to. I had like a toxic attachment to it because it was the one thing that, in the strangest way possible, it was like the one thing that I loved. It was like the one thing that gave me hope or, kept me going. And it was because I didn't have the knowledge or the understanding or the awareness or the language to understand myself, understand my own pain, understand what I was going through, what I actually needed internally. And so that was the external source. And I say addiction is the filling of an internal void with an external source. And gambling was my external source. So I had to understand my internal void. Yeah.
And I want to ask you now about your mum.
Yes.
Because, this is the first time that we've met, but what I got from learning about you is I think your mum, she saved your life in many ways. Do you think that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. We would not be sitting here talking if my mum didn't love me. And I get really emotional when I talk about my
What's her name?
Leanne.
Leanne.
Yeah, Leanne. Most beautiful woman in the world. It's really difficult. My parents, both my mum and my dad, but especially my mum loved me unconditionally. And I put her through hell, and she just kept showing up. I would say horrible things to her, and I would try to push her away. I would do like extremely horrible things to try and push her away because I was just like, I'm causing you so much pain, and if you would just give up on me, then I wouldn't have to cause you pain. And she never gave up on me, and she loved me unconditionally, and without my parents' support, and this always really upsets me because I know that there are many people who are struggling with all sorts of addictions and mental health, and they don't have the mum who loves them unconditionally, and they don't have the parents who support them. And I'm privileged and I'm so lucky that I had that because I know what could have happened without that, and I'm just so blessed.
She'd be so proud of you though.
Yeah.
Parents always are, but she would be extra proud of you now, I'm sure.
Yeah. And she is. It's hard though. It's a hard thing for me to accept her. What would I say? It's really difficult for me to actually accept her love and her acceptance of me now, and her like pride of me now. It's a really difficult thing for me to actually accept that because I feel undeserving of it.
I'm sure she would love to. She wants you to accept that, and
and
is happy to give that. You're her son.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we have a beautiful relationship, and we talk every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is difficult because it does come with guilt.
And she was the one who you said you need to go to rehab, and
Yes.
you went. So what
Yeah.
was that experience like? Because you've spoken about this before, about being a gambling addict in rehab, and how you were somehow at the bottom of the pile, having not been to rehab. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, rehab was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Rehab was life-changing for me, and rehab introduced me to many things that have changed my life and helped me become the person that I am today. But in rehab, because I was in there for a gambling addiction, and I was in the rehab with hard drug addicts, and to them, a gambling addiction was a joke.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like they looked well, not so much looked down, but yeah, like to them, I was a bit of a joke. They were sort of
Really?
like, yeah, it was like these were the exact words that one person said to me. They said, "Get a real addiction."
Wow.
Yeah.
Been through enough.
No.
It's a lot.
And it was the best thing. The best thing that I ever happened to me was to get told to get a real addiction, because when you're in that space and you have, heroin addicts and ice addicts, and they're looking down on you. And this is not like, and this is not, what would I say? Like, this is about me. Like, this is not a judgment on any of them. It was so humbling for me, and it really put into perspective actually where I was at. And it destroyed for me because I was always extremely arrogant, so arrogant, and had such a large ego. And then when you're with these people and they're, where you would say I was like, oh, I'm an NRL player. Like I've earned a lot of money.
Yeah.
I have renown. Like people look up to me, blah, blah. And then you go into rehab and you're like, oh no, the homeless drug addict thinks I'm a joke. And that for me I was like, wow, that actually it's such a reality check.
So how long were you in there for?
4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you came out, how did you feel?
I felt different.
Yeah.
I felt really inspired. I felt really, really inspired. And I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from those spaces. And through rehab, I was introduced to 12 steps, which is Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12-step programs, which are global and been running for, I think over 100 years now. And there's so much power in those communities, and the stories that people have and the hardships that people have overcome in those spaces, in those rooms, and to hear those stories told and to connect at that level and they're rooms of vulnerability, like to connect so vulnerably with other people who I think in many ways like society would look down on or would sort of like cast aside, and to connect so deeply and see the strength of those people, it was life-changing for me and really inspiring.
And forgive my ignorance here, but when you are a recovering gambling addict, do you reach a point where you don't think about it anymore, or is it always there? Like, do you worry about falling back into that trap?
There's a great saying in recovery spaces, and it's no matter how far or fast you run, whenever you turn around, it's the exact same distance away.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what it is, and I don't think it ever gets to a point. I think I'm very, very confident and stable in where I am, and I would very confidently say that it will never be an issue again in my life. But it only takes one backward step, and it's right there. It's something that you have to be proactive about for the rest of your life.
Well, let's look at the forward steps now, because you've gone to rehab and then you've decided to throw yourself into reality TV. I feel like this is a big pivot from you.
Yeah.
And you've done not one, but two shows.
Yeah.
So let's start with The Bachelor.
Yes.
What was it like? And was it what you thought it would be, or was it completely different?
Oh, The Bachelor was a really enjoyable experience, like a really fun experience, and it was my first experience within any TV or any production or anything like that. So it was really eye-opening for me in many ways. It was a very unique and new experience that I really enjoyed, and it was fascinating. We talk about fascinating.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to see, because I think, many people would sort of look at that and go like, oh, how does that get made? What's real? What's not? Like, what happens behind the scenes? And then to actually, peer behind the curtain
because how do you pass on with someone when there's a camera in your face? It's weird.
It is difficult. It is difficult to be affectionate when you have, and truly, and it is funny because you're kissing and there is 10 or 12 people sort of standing right there. Yeah,
it's a hard no.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
Would you ever do it again?
No, definitely not.
No,
definitely not.
Why is that? What did you learn from it, or what made you go, "I'll never do this again"?
Not so much, and not out of any resentment or anything. I just think, for me, it was a unique experience. But it's one of those things where you go, I'm really glad I did it, but it's not something I'm rushing to do again.
And then you did the jungle.
Yes,
which is also weird, but probably more fun. Was it more fun?
It was.
You didn't pass on in there.
It was really different, the jungle, because it was quite challenging. It was really personally challenging, the jungle, in a different way. I think the Bachelor was the Bachelor was very interpersonal, romantic based, whereas the jungle was very self-advocacy.
Yeah.
But
you're a fit guy. You should have been able to handle what they threw at you.
But it wasn't the challenges were okay. Yeah. It was the food. So you get no food. So I was starving. And when you're locked in, so you're locked in with people and you're all starved and you're sleeping outside and emotions are high, tempers are high,
There's a saying,
patience
hangry.
is short. Yeah.
Like hungry, angry.
Yeah. Everyone like patience is thin and you're in with everyone and it's really difficult, physically very challenging.
Okay. So you've done that and your profile's kind of skyrocketed. And then you've started doing this BookTok type of profile on social media and it's just exploded. So when did you say, hey, I've decided that I want to share my love of reading with the world?
Yes, so that only happened, it's about 12 months ago now. Yeah, so 12 months ago. And this one, again, for me, was a big part of my recovery journey. And I started to do lots of therapy, lots of internal work. I started reading my love of books. My love of books came back into my life in it really strongly, and I found so much. Books healed me. I found so many wisdoms and teachings and lessons in books. It changed my life, and I fell back in love with my fantasy and magic and all that kind of stuff. And I started writing. Actually, I started writing when I was in rehab. So I wrote when I was a teenager and everything, and then when I was playing football, I didn't write at all. And then when I was in rehab, I started journaling and started writing a lot of poetry. So my writing also came back. So reading and writing really came back into my life. And then I got to the point, it was at the start of 2025, and I was so sick of pretending to be someone who I wasn't. And I was just like, I love books. And I'm 30 years old and I've never been a part of a book community. Like I've never been public about this. Like I've never been able to share this outside of my immediate family. And
is that the toxic masculinity thing that that being men can't love books? Is that what it is at your core?
Absolutely.
I find shame about books. It's just wild.
It's hyper masculinity. It's patriarchy. It's all of that, and it's all tied in together. And that's where. And my journey through that has been understanding the systems and the cultures that I grew up in and how they shaped me as well. And then trying to undo and take off those conditionings and then understand the actual systems that put them in place and try to change the system so that other young men don't have to do that same thing. But so I'd finally gotten to the point where I was really, I just love books. I was like, I just want to talk to people about books.
You really do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I just want to talk to people about books. And my friend said, you should jump on BookTok because I'm out in Western Queensland. Yeah. I'm an hour and a half. Yeah, I'm an hour and a half from the nearest town. And it's only 500 people, so there's not many people to talk with books about. So my friend said to me, you should jump on BookTok.
Yeah.
And I did, and it's just gone from there, and it's been amazing. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Have you been contacted by like any famous book community people or
Reese Witherspoon is someone
if you don't mind.
Reese and I have spoken a few times, and she's huge in the book space.
Yeah.
She's huge in the book space.
Book club,
she's got Reese's book club.
Yeah.
So I've had some book mail from Reese.
Oh, fab. What did she say?
She sent me her book, her most recent book. So she sent me that, and then she sent me Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, and she sent me another one too. I can't think of what it is right now. But yeah, she just said like I love what you're doing, and like I love books, and she's big in turning books into movies and things like that. Yeah, so she was wonderful.
That could be the future for you.
Oh, hopefully one day. Yeah, hopefully.
So let's go back to the book space. So I wanted you to talk to me about this bizarre. So all of our younger people here in the office, they said to me, "Oh, he loves fantasy smut," and I just looked at them. I said, "What is?" I'm very conservative. What is fantasy smut? Explain it to me. I'm going to get embarrassed.
That's probably a little bit
of it. Is it like
Game
of Thrones? Is that what it is?
No. So fantasy, I always say to people, if fantasy is a bit like fast food, so I think like all McDonald's is fast food, but not all fast food is McDonald's.
Okay.
So fantasy sort of has a lot of different sub-branches. Mm-hmm. My main love is high fantasy or epic fantasy, which is a Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
That-esque.
Yeah.
But smut, the genre of smut is more like erotic, like romance erotica.
Within the fantasy world.
Yeah, so it's romantasy. So it's romance and fantasy put together, and it usually, it involves obviously fantasy storyline with romance and erotica sort of interwoven.
It's like creatures, not humans necessarily.
It can be and I will say this, and
where's this going?
So I actually really love a genre called monster smut. Now monster smut. So I've recently one I love. So that's, and they're like, so there was one where the main male character was a minotaur.
Yes.
And I've just recently read one where he's the main male character, the MMC, was he's like a blue alien barbarian. Yeah. So and
he gets it on with other things.
Yes. Well, yeah, like human ladies.
Humans.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, not always humans, but yeah. And I want to, and you would look at that, and I know like there's a lot of sort of what would I say, trepidation or resistance to that.
You reckon?
Yeah. But it is the most sweetest, wholesome, and welcoming genre, and the storylines are always really warm. Always very, and there's beautiful underlying messages to those books that I think are wonderful, and it's about acceptance and love, and it's really love comes in all different forms, and I think it helps to break down even the barriers that we put in place to love in our own world.
So you're sitting on the tractor with your book in hand.
Well, I do a lot of audio while I'm in the tractor.
Yes, yeah. So you're doing that, and you're listening to your monster smut and whatnot, and then you're posting about it online.
Yes, yeah.
This is very unique.
It is, yeah. It is unique. Yeah.
On your farm, on your own.
Yeah, and but I also think it's something that I'm really proud, and the reason that I do it is, one of the main reasons I do it is because the 10-year-old Luke Bateman, he never got to see that,
Yeah.
He never got to see someone who looked like him, who spoke like him, who grew up in the places he grew up in, who's rural, and he never got to see them, championing books and talking about fantasy and loving that thing. So I know that there are 10-year-old Luke Batemans out there that need to see that and need to know that it's okay and need to not have to read their books on a toilet and develop shame and secrecy, because you wonder why you wonder why I became an addict. And addiction is a world of shame and secrecy. Like, where do you think that developed from?
Well, yeah, you were ashamed of reading.
Exactly.
But it's crazy.
We live in such a shame-based culture, especially male culture is extremely shame-based culture.
So have you had lots of young men in particular reach out to you? Like, you have to tell us what book we should start with if we go, because I'm going to go and read one of these books after this conversation.
Well,
so did they reach out to them and do they say, hey, I read one of these books and I really enjoyed it? I
get wonderful messages from men. I get really wonderful messages from men and younger boys as well who say thank you. I get messages from men. The best message I love are when men say, hey mate, I got, your content has really inspired me to pick up a book. You know, what's your recommendation?
Yeah.
Or they'll just say like, you inspired me to like read my first book in 20 years or something like that. And it means the world to me. And yeah, and you know, I've had young men reach out saying like, you know, like, thank you for, you know, I love books and it's not really accepted in my friendship group. So thank you for, you know, doing it for me. And that means the world to me. Because as I said, it's the 10-year-old, the inner child in me. They needed someone like me. Mm.
So what am I reading? How do I get started in this genre?
Well, what genre do you want to?
No, I want to read some of this monster smut.
I'm not an expert. I truly I'm very early stages monster smut journey, but I would honestly say morning. Okay, and I want to say this too, is that the reason that I get to write a fantasy book, the publishing industry is underpinned by romance and like smutty novels. So people
it goes
love
back to the Mills and Boone days, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Like people love to throw shade or love to cast judgment on these books. There would not be a publishing industry without these books. These are like the money makers of this industry.
Yeah.
And so
I'm about to go spend some money. So what am I buying?
So I respect them deeply. I would say to you, Morning Glory Milking Farm is where I began.
Luke, can't wait.
And I know that sounds funny, and the concept is ridiculous, but it's a wonderful story. It's great storytelling. The writing is spectacular, and as I said, it comes with really beautiful underlying messages to it.
I'm going to download one. I'm going to read it.
Give this. It's only a 6-hour audio book. You can
Even
do it
better.
quickly. You can do it very quickly.
Just can I have the kids in the car with it?
No.
And now you've got the book deal, obviously, which is like a huge achievement, as we've just discussed. You know, your life journey to be given a book deal. And one of the things that it made me personally angry for you when I read that, you know, it's like you get yourself up to a level where you're happy, you've got a book deal, and then the wider world comes for you because you got a book deal. Like, how did you feel when that happened?
It was really difficult.
Yeah.
And it really challenged me personally because there was such a part of me that, you know, that wanted to be like, there's a part of me that wanted to, you know, scream out and say, this is unfair or this isn't justified. But I think, you know, through my journey in addiction and recovery and 12 steps and everything, compassion is something that I've really had to, compassion is something that I've really had to understand. And being able to put aside my ego, put aside, you know, my sort of defensiveness, and actually go, well, hang on a minute, like what are these people feeling, and where does this come from? Like, let me understand you. And I think, you know, that there are millions of people across the world who want to write, who want to who want their stories told, who love writing, who want to see their books on shelves.
Yep.
And when they see someone else who in their opinion, didn't get it through, or I suppose, you know,
maybe the traditional way.
Yeah, didn't get it through the traditional sense. Yeah. And I think, you know, there's a real sort of sense in, you know, like you have to bleed, you have to do, you know, you have to write and bleed for 20, 30 years before you know, to get somewhere, and also that at that time too, there's a lot of lack of information around me as well.
Yep.
I've been writing for years. I'd already started my book like before the book deal happened. People thought that I just woke up one morning and someone said like, "Hey, here's your book deal," and that's not the case, you know. And I think so having compassion for that and was really important to me. So yeah, holding space for that. You know, as I said, people want their stories told, and I understand that.
There's you sound like you've done a lot of work on that, though, and I think if you've had this, you know, quite traumatic journey through your life and the challenges that you've had, to almost like the tall poppy syndrome, then they decided to come for you just because you've recovered, for want of a better word, but you've reached a point where maybe you're happy, and then all of a sudden you can't be happy, and you can't have opportunities because of who you are.
Absolutely.
Is that it?
Oh, definitely. I think, you know, growth, anyone who actually has done inner work and personal work on themselves and grown as people will know this. Like growth that really upsets other people. It really does. And it makes it, you know, because other people want you to stay where you are. And I know that like, there would have been many people out there that probably were praying for my downfall, or, you know, there probably would have been people who who saw my addiction and rehab and like failure, and were probably like, oh, great, you know, like, but then to see someone doing well, they're like, oh, well, like what, like you can't be that. I just had the tall poppy syndrome.
So did you move to the farm to get away from all of that? Is that why you've moved back to quite a rural area?
Yeah. So I grew up out in I grew up on a farm in Western Queensland.
Yeah.
And then when I finished rehab, so the deal was with my parents, because I was a gambling addict, so I was in mountains of debt.
Yeah.
And the deal was with my parents that they said we'll pay back all your debts, like your credit cards, personal loans, people, etc. So we'll pay your debt back, and then look, you owe us the money. And then when you get out of rehab, you go back out, because my old man's obviously still out there working. They said you go back out with your old man and you work with him until you pay us the money back. And then once you've paid us the money back, then you can go wherever you want, but until you pay us back, you're working out there. And it's like best thing I ever did, rehab into that, best thing I ever did. And went back out with my old man, and we work 7 days a week. And you're up at 5 in the morning, and you're home at 5 in the afternoon, like your full days. It was the best thing I ever did, because it just it taught me the value of actually hard work and sacrifice, and just like compounding interest, like doing things, doing the little things every single day repeatedly, and how that builds up over time.
Have you paid him back?
Yeah, I'd have.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so and then once I paid them back, they were like, well, you can go to everyone. I said, no, like, I'm staying here. This is like out in the country, back out at home out in Western Queensland. That was a place I went to heal. Like, that was a place I went to heal, and that was where I did a lot of growth. And that was truly it was a place that, like, I wouldn't say it wasn't a place where I like remade myself. It's a place where I returned to myself.
And you still love it?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I'll always be on a farm or like, a block somewhere.
You are fascinating, but who fascinates you?
This is a really good question. And I think the person who fascinates me is my mum. Yeah. My mum fascinates me. And my mum has taught me so much about being... It's funny. My mum has taught me so much about what it means to be a good man. And that's because my mum is a good human. And I always say, we tell young boys to be good men, or, to grow up to be good men, but we're humans. And being a good human is much more important than being a good man or a woman. And my mum is one of the best humans. And I always looked at my mum, and I always had these like conceptions or conditionings and ideas around what it means to be strong, and men provide and men protect and stuff like that. And then I look at my mum, and I was like, my mum has been my provider and my protector my entire life. And I was like, that's so weird, because mum's not a man. And it taught me so much about actually what it just means to be a human and how you show up as a good human. And she fascinates me with, and once again with, her love. My mum is so fascinating to me with how she leads with love, and how what do I say? Just how strong her love is, and it just presents in all areas of her life. And she'll look at a situation, and every situation she looks at is through a lens of love, and it fascinates me, and it's something that I really aspire to be like.
I couldn't think of a better spot to end our chat. Thank you for coming on Fascinated. You're a delight.
Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it.